I grew up in Pune. I studied in Pune. I did electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and then Masters in Industrial Engineering in the United States. And when I was doing that, I realized that I got attracted to economics. My father was a very distinguished member of Maharashtra Police Service. He's a role model for me. And from mother, really committed for education and knowledge. I thought I went to the United States to increase, now to use modern language, my human capital, and come back and work in our own country. My karma bhumi is, that's my country. In 1917, I joined Administration Staff College. I was teaching. I was also teaching Staff College in Hyderabad and also teaching a course at Usman University. Then I taught for 2 years in Nepal, in Center for Economic Development. And there I met DP there. He was visiting Kathmandu. And he told me, what are you doing here? Because come and join Planning Commission. So that's how I joined the Planning Commission.
I think amongst his early contributions that I recall were on India's trade policy when he was economic advisor in the Commerce Ministry, and he was the member secretary of a very important committee which gave a report outlining reforms in India's foreign trade policies.
In many ways, the reforms of trade policy started with Alexander Committee.
Dr. Kelkar is a visionary, and he is one of the best economists, thinkers this country has. He doesn't just think short term, he thinks long term.
He contributed a great deal in his role as chairman of the Bureau of Industrial Costs and Prices, BICP, where a lot of excellent sector studies were done under his stewardship.
Dr. Kelkar decided that he will ask the National Council of Applied Economic Research to quantify the impact of the reduction in import duties on steel on the whole economy. And what came out there was that we were able to show that a 20% reduction in import duties would lead to a substantial gain in economic activity and welfare.
And I remember that one of his papers that he had then published in the Economic and Political Weekly, pointing out the abuse that had resulted from the discretionary system, pointing out misallocation of resources and things like that.
He's been one of the important players in economic reforms for the longest time. He was secretary of the Ministry of Petroleum.
And there he was the principal architect and the motive force for move away from the administered prices mechanism.
The first time I came in touch with him in Petroleum Ministry, we had been assigned this job of framing the policy of Government of India for inviting offshore oil companies to come and explore here.
New exploration licensing policy. I think that is one of the most fundamental and path-breaking reforms that the Petroleum Ministry was able to bring about during this period.
And look what happened the next few years. These public sectors, starting with Bharat Petroleum and then HPCL and the others, they started going from strength to strength in introducing new formats for retailing, new standards of customer service, new ways of engaging their own people.
And it has brought in the largest amount of investment into the country as compared to any other policy.
It has created more than $200 billion additional wealth for this country, the economic value. And it has come from essentially Indian companies. So we are giving a depth to our Indian oil industry. I was following one of the great finance secretaries of India, namely Monty Kalewale. He called me and said, Vijay, you have to come back when he wants to be the finance secretary. So I told him, Monty, I'm a bit worried because your shoe size is too large.
His focus was on the fiscal reforms. Most people are aware that 3 important reports got done in that period. There was one report on direct taxes, one report on indirect taxes, and there was one on the implementation of the FRBM Act.
We worked very closely and very effectively, particularly in the budget. Mr. Sinha, Yashwant Sinha was the minister, which made a lot of forward movement.
The challenge was to keep the government's budget as balanced as possible, reduce the fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit overnight cannot be achieved except by reducing drastically your expenditure, because you can't raise incomes suddenly. So the whole idea was to go for major expenditure reform.
We went all over India, discussed with the Chamber of Commerce, discussed with universities, discussed with research institutes, and based on this, created the new sort of revised reports and gave these 2 tax reforms, which fortunately was accepted by not only by him but also by successive government, namely Mr. Chidambaram.